Welcome to another episode of Around the 412. We are part of allsteelers.com and proudly presented by Crowworthy, where winners are serving winners coast to coast with sports, gambling, fantasy, and more. You can follow Crowworthy at Crowworthy Takes on Twitter, and you can visit us at crowworthy.com. You can also check out the Crowworthy Pittsburgh City page for podcasts just like this one, blogs by us and others, and more. I'm Tyler, and with me as always is Smitty. What's going on, man?
Let's go, Bucs. Let's go. Oh, wait, are you wearing a pirate shirt right now?
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that at first.
Yeah.
Nice. You got the Bucs and the Bucs on.
Had to. Root for our home team. Another Pirates generation. Everybody shout. Let's go, Bucs. We're not going to hear that often this year.
Hope we don't get copyrighted.
Who made that song anyway?
I don't know. I have no idea. It's pretty catchy, though.
You would know a lot about copyright, huh?
Yeah, that's true. That's a low blow, though.
We're probably not going to hear that song that much this year anyway.
No, but okay, let's get into that. Let's start off there. I guess a little bit of Pirates are going to be thrown in here, but really with the MLB season starting tomorrow, we're going to give our division predictions, division winners, MVP predictions on both sides, and also our Cy Young prediction on both sides, and then also, of course, our predictions for the Pirates record. So that should be fun. You can let us know what you guys think, obviously, in the comments. And I'm just curious to see if we get anything right or even moderately close, to be honest with you.
I feel like I think we have a better chance at guessing one of these right than, well, at least for definitely the division winners. But for the awards, I feel like we have a better chance of guessing one of these rights than the Steelers draft picks that we've been doing on Mock Draft Mondays. I feel like there's just so many different players that they could pick on Steelers mock drafts, but it's easier to pick for these. There's so much fewer guys that we can pick from.
All right, so let's just jump right into it. I mean, normally we would probably save, I would say, the best for last, the Pirates division for last. But that's one of the three divisions, like just talking between the two of us beforehand, we feel like we're going to be on the same page with. So let's just start there. I got the Cardinals winning this division, and it's not really that close for me. Obviously, going out and getting Nolan Arenado helps, but I would have had them winning the division, honestly, even before that. Like, it just seems like the rest of the division was standing pat. They at least did something to improve their roster. And obviously, like Nolan Arenado on top of the Devil Magic, I mean, they're the division winner, in my opinion.
Yeah, whether they made that move or not in this offseason, I was going to pick them as the winner unless someone in the Cubs or the Brewers made some outlandish trades or something. But the fact that they went and got Nolan Arenado, now we don't know whether he's going to perform well outside of Colorado. But so I guess we'll see how he. Offensively. Obviously, the defense is going to be there, but we don't know what his batting average is going to be like. But we'll see how he performs. But I feel like the Cardinals is such an easy pick for this division.
Just sticking in this division, though, do you have a second team making the playoffs out of this division?
No.
And do you have the Pirates finishing last?
I have the Pirates finishing last. I do not have a second playoff team.
Okay. I think I'm with you, honestly, on both. I think it's going to be a lot closer than, again, none of these teams really did anything. Like, the Reds did nothing to build off of what they did last year, where, I thought they were, kind of on the rise, and then obviously, they don't bring Bauer back. He priced himself out of there. But then they start trading off assets, too. It's weird. I don't know if they're heading towards a rebuild, if that's what they're trying to do. Maybe they were in kind of that spot like the Pirates were from 2016 to 2019, where, they just tried to have 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and they're finally going towards the rebuild. But, yeah, I'm with you on both those things. I don't think a second playoff team comes out of this division. I also do think the Pirates do finish last, but I think that it's going to be a lot closer than, people think. I don't think it's the Pirates lose 100 games and then everybody else is, close to 500 or above.
Yeah, no. Do you have the Reds as fourth place, though?
Yeah.
Okay, so because I would guess I'm not going to give away what my Pirates prediction is yet for their win total, but I would say the Reds I would probably have around high 60s, low 70s win total, probably 68 wins is what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're that great of a team.
No. Okay, let's go to the NL West now, just because I do feel like we know we're going to be on the same page with the division winner here, but I think that there's another team that's really, really good in this division as well, so it could be interesting. But I just still got the Dodgers winning this division. I do like the Padres to give away, kind of what we were just talking about with the Central. I do think both those teams make the playoffs. I think they're both going to be really good teams. But the Dodgers, I just think they're such a juggernaut. Like, they didn't even need Mookie Betts. They go out and get an MVP in Mookie Betts, and I think he's going to be in contention to win the MVP this year. They're coming off a World Series win. I don't think that we see a hangover there or anything like that. I think they're right back in contention this year.
Yeah, I think both these teams are really good, but the Dodgers just have the edge. And the fact that they were able to trade for Mookie Betts last year, it was funny because we weren't even sure if he was going to play a game in Dodgers because it didn't look like there was going to be a baseball season.
Yeah.
But then they end up winning the World Series.
Agent.
Yeah, he would end up winning the World Series. They end up re-signing him. So the fact that they still have him, I just don't see the Padres being able to surpass them, at least in the regular season this year. And so they're the division winner, but I do have the Padres as a wild card team.
It's funny because, like, they have Cody Bellinger on that team, and it's like he almost gets overlooked now because of Mookie Betts being on that roster.
When he could very well win the MVP as himself.
Yeah. Okay, and then finally, I'm curious about this one because I think that there's, we saw what the Marlins did last year, obviously surprising everybody, and I think the 4 other teams are, contenders as well to win that division. So this could go anyway. I have a feeling we might be different here. The NL East. So the Braves, really good team in my opinion. The Nationals, I mean, not that far removed from a World Series as well. The Phillies, they got talent. It's just, when are they going to look like the team that they thought they were putting out on paper when they got Bryce Harper? And then, of course, the Mets, who went out and got Francisco Lindor and have, the most dominant pitcher over the last couple seasons in Jake DeGrom. For that reason, I'm going with the Mets to win this division. Sticking with the 2 playoff thing, though, I do think that we could potentially see one out of this, though. So I picked the Padres to make the playoffs, but I don't like. I really want to pick the Braves though, because I think that they could easily win this division. But I'm going with the Mets to win this division.
We're the exact same.
Okay. All right. I thought maybe you'd have the Braves.
No, I have them as a wild card team. So I have because we get 2 wild card teams, right? So. So I have the Padres and the Braves as my wild card teams, and I have the Mets.
So we have then we do have the exact same.
Yeah, that's why I said before. It might be very generic, but
yeah, I think it's very close in this division. Yeah. Again, I think that the Phillies and Nationals could be in the mix too, because even like when I was sitting there thinking about like NL MVP, the first name that came to mind for me was Juan Soto. But, like, if the Nationals don't make the playoffs, is he still going to win it?
Yeah, that's tough. It's really hard. It's hard for people to give MVP to a non-playoff contender. Like in what year was it? I'm trying to think of the year. I don't know if it was Harper or somebody that they could have been up for MVP, but the Nationals didn't make the playoffs. So it's like, how do you give him the MVP? I don't know. But yeah,
I already know my MVP pick is going to surprise everybody.
For the NL.
Yeah.
Well, at least I feel like the NL East was the toughest division to pick the winner for. The other 2 were just kind of like gimmies.
Okay, let's switch to the American League though. Now, you talked about kind of gimmies. I feel like this is probably the easiest division from the AL for us to pick. Assume we're going to be on board here in the AL East. I'm picking the Yankees to win this division. I don't really think anything else needs to be said. Tampa Bay, obviously in the World Series last year, but the way that they operate, Blake Snell's gone. He's now with the Padres, and they don't seem to like they were putting together a very competitive ball club on paper. Now it's the Rays. They always find a way to do this with a very low budget and still compete. I don't see it. I think that the Yankees are the top team in that division. I do think the Blue Jays are getting better. Obviously, we think the Orioles are going to be the basement dweller in the wild cards. The Red Sox, like, are they there yet? Obviously, losing Mookie Betts, I wouldn't say completely tore things down, but they were at least in like a transition period a little bit, and I don't think that they're back up there yet. So I think this is the Yankees division. I don't want to say in a landslide, but I'm going to say by at least like 4 or 5 games.
I think it could be a landslide, though. Like I just feel like when you just compare rosters, the Yankees is just by far the most dominant team on paper. So that's the easiest pick to me. It might even be easier than like it's definitely easier than the Dodgers and probably easier than the Cardinals to pick the division winner, just because I think that at least the Padres are a little closer to than the Dodgers than I think that the Rays are to the Yankees, at least like looking at the rosters this year.
2 playoff teams from that division or no?
Yeah, actually.
Who else do you have making it?
The Blue Jays.
Okay.
I took a little wild card on that. Well, yeah, funny word. We'll play a wordplay. I took a little wild card and I picked the Blue Jays. I didn't have the Rays making it.
I don't have a second playoff team from that division. So,
okay, I guess we'll see what happens.
okay, let's go to the AL Central now. This is tough because I'm stuck between two teams here, between the Twins and the White Sox. I don't think that the Indians are going to be that good this year, with no Francisco Lindor. I still think that they're better than the Tigers or the Royals, but I don't see them competing with the White Sox or Twins. So I took the White Sox to win this division, but I do think with how bad the bottom feeders in this division are going to be, that the Twins win enough games and they end up as a wild card.
You and I literally have picked like almost the exact same things.
I'm gonna. If you have the Blue Jays, I also have two teams from the West.
Yeah, so that's where we're different. But
yeah,
at least for the Central, I have the White Sox winning, and I have the Mets as my second wild card team.
Twins,
not Mets.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, I guess. What do you think about the Indians? Like, do you think that they're still better than the Tigers and Royals, though? Just not as good as the top two?
I think they're better than those teams. I just think when you subtract a guy like Lindor, I just don't see it. Like, I don't think they're going to be able to contend with the White Sox or the Twins. I just think that they don't have the top end talent anymore. And
here's the scary thing for those fans too. Like, that organization operates relatively similar to the Pirates, whether people want to admit it or not. Like, ownership is very similar. If they're not good, I'm just throwing this out there. What if they look to move Shane Bieber?
I mean, they very well could if they're going to go full rebuild mode. Because if you look at their prospects and then don't think that you're going to be able to be a contender within the next like 2-3 years, then you might as well do what the Pirates are doing right now, and what the Pirates should have done like 5 years ago, but it took them 5 years too late to do it.
The Pirates didn't have a Shane Bieber either as a trade chip. I mean, he would get a haul for the Indians.
Yeah. I mean, he's young. He won a Cy Young already, and he practically strikes out 15 guys a game. So, I think
he made me a lot of money last year.
It's a very realistic.
Strikeouts was always set at like 9, and I'm like,
really?
Okay. Like, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a very real possibility because, believe it or not, everybody, Cleveland's a small market team just like the Pirates are, whether you want to believe it or not, and they're going to have to be either rebuild or somehow get good internally. And I don't know their prospects, so I don't know if they have the pieces to be able to do that.
Okay, so now the AL West. So if you don't have two playoff teams here, I'm really curious which one of these. I'm assuming one of these three that you picked between the Astros, Angels, and Athletics. I have, like I said, two playoff teams coming out of here. With the Angels, my thing is I need to see it to believe it. Like, we know Mike Trout's awesome. They're getting Ohtani back fully to be able to pitch as well. Anthony Rendon's there. But I don't have them making the playoffs still. And I wonder when frustration is, if this comes true and they don't make the playoffs again, when is Mike Trout going to show some signs of frustration that they're not making the playoffs with him there? Because I got the A's and the Astros both make the playoffs. I got the Astros winning this division by like 2 games.
I have the Astros as well winning this division. And I think it's only because of experience that they've had. Cheating experience, but it's still experience. And I agree with you on the Angels. I literally, it's kind of like the boy who cried wolf. I'm not going to believe that they're a good team until I actually see them be a good team. And I feel so bad for guys like Mike Trout. Like, he's just kind of stuck there. He's been there his entire career. They haven't been able to build a contender around him. And you have the best player in baseball, and he's just being wasted. And it's not like, listen, I know you're not the Dodgers, but you're not in a city like Pittsburgh either. Like, you're in LA, you're in Anaheim. You've got money. So you could have built a contender within the past 10 years, but you haven't. And I don't know why that is, but it just doesn't make sense. Especially, and you add a guy like Ohtani too. He should perform well this year. He should be healthy. So maybe they put it together a little bit, but I won't believe it till I see it.
It's the pitching for me. They never invest in pitching. And their answer this year is to go out and get Jose Quintana, like, who looks like his career's fizzled out with the Cubs. Alex Cobb, they buy low on. I don't mind that necessarily, but it's not a proven commodity at this point. I mean, they're trying to cut around the edges and never address the pitching, and that's what's come back to bite them. So I don't see it, and I think that the A's, similar to the Rays, always seem to find a way to be there, and I think that they're a better ball club all around than the Angels. And I'm going to talk about one of their players a little bit later, maybe, that I have winning an award. Which, I guess we can just kind of jump into that stuff now that we got through the divisions. So let's just start right there. AL. Let's start with the MVP because that's where I already am. Matt Chapman of the Athletics is going to be my MVP of the American League. I love this guy. I think he's one of the best overall players in baseball. It absolutely kills me that he was right there. Going back and looking at it, obviously there's nothing they could do about it. It's not like I'm going to sit here and use my hindsight and say, oh, the Pirates should have taken him because I had no idea who he was at the time. But the Pirates could have drafted him, instead took Cole Tucker. But no, Matt Chapman, in my opinion, one of the best players all around in baseball. Obviously, we know what he can do defensively, former Platinum Glove winner. But offensively, he's really good too, as long as his dad's not pitching to him in the home run derby. But I think he's a stud, and I think that the Athletics are really a good team, mainly because of what he brings to the table on both sides of the ball. So that's my AL MVP prediction.
I went the very basic route,
Okay.
and I obviously picked Mike Trout that way. Again, this is a guy, he's the best player in baseball by a large margin.
It has happened. It obviously happens.
Yeah. So I'm breaking my own rule that I was talking about earlier. I feel like Mike Trout is the one guy where it's like, okay, your team didn't make the playoffs, but you were by far the best player, so we kind of have to give you this award. Because realistically, we've said it many times, he could win it every single year.
It's like Aaron Donald with Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, so I have him winning, and he didn't win last year. He did win the year before that, so he took a year off. So I have Mike Trout winning.
Let a little bit of that voters fatigue wear off.
Yeah, so and last year I think he got 5th in the MVP voting. Because I was looking at it earlier, but so the fact that he got 5th, he's definitely going to finish higher this year, and I think he's going to get 1st.
Okay. I mean, you're not going to disagreement from me on that.
It's hard to argue. Like that's one of those players you just can't argue.
AL Cy Young for the team that is going to win the AL Central, Lucas Giolito of the White Sox. I think he really came into his own last year. Looks like a true number one. I was going back and forth between another pitcher in the Central who I mentioned earlier and Shane Bieber. The only reason that I didn't pick him, and it might be a stupid reason, is he won it last year in a shortened season. If voters fatigue does come into play here and it's close, they're going to give the edge to Giolito. I think this dude's an absolute stud. It's amazing the transformation that we've seen because he kind of looked like he was going to be a bust. I mean, you look at his 2019 to 2020, the way that dude has just risen up. But I really love him as a player, and I think that he's, again, an absolute stud.
Just for parody, you should have stuck with Shane Bieber.
I thought you'd go with Garrett Cole, to be honest.
No, that's too basic of a pick. I did that with the AL MVP. I couldn't do it with the AL Cy Young.
True.
So yeah, I just reiterate everything you said about Lucas Giolito, and I think that if they're gonna actually win that division, I think his pitching is gonna be a big part of that. So that'll be another reason that voters will vote for him.
So National League, man, my MVP, and I still haven't fully made up my mind on this. I've been going back and forth. I'm sticking with one of these young guys. And I was going back and forth between Juan Soto and this guy. I end up going with this guy because I have this team winning that division. I'm going with Ronald Acuna of the Braves to win NL MVP this year. Again, like one of those young studs. You got Tatis, Soto, Acuna. Baseball is in a great place when you look at these young studs. If they can figure out a way to market these guys better, baseball is going to be in a really good place because these guys are going to make the league a lot of fun. I like Ronald Acuna a lot, and I think he's the MVP this year.
I just want to laugh a little bit at the fact that you said marketing with baseball because that's impossible.
Yeah, it's not going to happen, but yeah. I mean, but these guys do a pretty solid job of doing it on their own.
Yeah, that's true. They're fun. The fact that they play a fun style, they're open like that. They're not the old school baseball players. That's what kids and that's what everybody, I think, in general would like to see. So my NL awards, they're so basic. I just went Mookie Betts. I just think he's going to have a stud season in LA. Yep. The fact that they were able to, first off, get him last year, keep him. He was able to play the 2-month season, win the World Series, and then keep him long term. I just think he's going to thrive in LA. and he's going to win MVP. So that would be his second MVP award?
Yeah, and I don't know how many guys have won it in both leagues, but he would join that company as well.
Yeah. And then I'll just go first since mine is basic and yours is probably better. With me picking the Mets to win the division, I think that for the same reason that I picked Giolito, I think that Jacob deGrom is going to be the leader of that pitching staff, and he's going to be a big reason that they're going to win that division. So he's my NL Cy Young.
I mean, he's just had an insane run of dominance. You look at like this run of dominance, and then like what's his name? Why is his name completely with the Nationals? Max Scherzer. I don't know why that name was just eluding me, but like his run of dominance that he had, like. But I'm switching divisions on this. I think that the Cy Young is going to see a lot of the Pittsburgh Pirates this year. I'm going with Jack Flaherty of the St. Louis Cardinals to win the Cy Young this year. I've been on his train forever. And I mean, obviously he's shown signs of dominance. I think he's their number one pitcher, but we haven't seen him reach that level yet, but he's still super young. I still think that his best baseball's ahead of him. And when they win the division this year, it's going to be largely on the back of Jack Flaherty's pitching.
That's another guy that we were talking about the Pirates when we were looking at the former drafts. We were like, oh, they could have taken him.
Yeah.
But yeah, hard to argue with that. That's a bit of a wild card though. With the picks.
Yeah, I was looking at the two guys. Not two guys. I was looking at Walker Buehler with the Dodgers. I thought about him as well. I thought maybe you could see like a little bit of a bounce back for Blake Snell in San Diego, and considered him. Kind of the same deal with Yu Darvish, who was actually pretty good last year, but now a change of scenery in that division. I mean, there were some other guys that I considered. Obviously, Jake deGrom as well. But yeah, I don't know, man. There's just something about Jack Flaherty. I think pitching that division, which I don't think is going to be a very good division, I think he's going to have a really good year.
Do you think that – now this is just a question off the wall a little bit since we're talking about NL pitching. Do you think that Clayton Kershaw will ever win another Cy Young?
No.
Do you think he'll ever be a finalist again?
Is in top 3?
Yeah.
Or like, no.
Okay. I'm just curious. Do you think he's not healthy enough to do that anymore?
Well, I just think that if you're not, I don't think he's the best pitcher on that team anymore, and I don't see like a path to him ever being the best pitcher on the team again. And I don't think that he would be, he's going to be the finalist along with somebody else. Even if he has a really good year, if Walker Buehler has an even better year than that, you're not going to see 2 finalists from the same team, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. All right, I was just curious.
Yeah. But I'm not saying like, the dude's completely washed or anything like that. I don't see a path to him being in that upper echelon again.
Gotcha.
Okay, but I think we can just give our Pirates predictions real quick and then move on and talk some puck.
Yeah. So mine, we've said it multiple times. I think they're going to hover around that 100 loss range. Whether they hit it or not, we've debated on that. But in my prediction, they're going to hit it, and they're just going to go over it. And I'm predicting they will go 61 and 101.
Man. Okay. See, the thing with me is I actually don't think that they're going to be that bad offensively. Like, they might not have the power, but I think that they're going to hit okay. And I think
here's the only issue. They're going to have to score probably like 6 or 7 runs to win a game.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think that the pitching's going to be bad. And I think that, the defense could be okay. I actually don't think that the bullpen's going to be that bad, but it doesn't matter if you don't have the starting pitching to get them the ball. I think even with all that said, and I've gone back and forth about this, my final prediction is 65 and 97.
So not losing 100 games.
No, I don't think that they join the 100-loss club.
Are they the worst team in baseball this year?
No.
I think the Orioles?
I think the Orioles will be worse.
Ricky says 69 and 93. Nice number, by the way.
I don't know. Like, I feel like this is going to sound stupid. I feel like there's one more team that we're not thinking about that has just an abysmal year. Maybe like the Rangers or Mariners, like someone like that just has an abysmal year, and they're worse than the Pirates too. Oh, Ricky, I completely forgot about the Rockies. I don't know why but they're actually predicted to be the worst team this year.
Are they really?
After trading off Arenado. Yeah, and they don't have an extension with Trevor Story. They said they're not going to talk about one. He doesn't want to talk about anything during the season. Like, he might get moved at the deadline. And if that's the case, there's really nothing on that roster besides an aging Charlie Blackmon.
What about the Detroit Tigers? They're probably pretty bad.
Yeah, they're going to be pretty bad too. But I think I'm with the. I think I'm on the Rockies train actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think that you're going to see. Yeah, I think so. Final thought here. You'll see multiple teams worse than the Pirates this year.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not hoping that they get back-to-back first overall picks. But I mean, if it happens, it happens. It helps the cause, I guess.
Okay, so let's switch talk here, and I'm gonna try to make this fly under the radar and switch the ticker without anybody noticing. Did it? Let's talk some puck. So it's funny because right before the month of March started, I think it was you said it on here. I'm hoping you said it on here. You were talking about how good historically the Penguins always are in March. And it's like, are they going to be able to hold that up with all the injuries that have happened? And somehow, some way, amazingly, they have. The March of the Penguins has continued this year. And now here we are on the last day of it. What is just to wrap up the month of March for the Penguins? What are your thoughts on the team right now?
So we said it a lot last night when we were on the Yinzertainment podcast. Go check them out. But I think that this team is trending in the right direction, and it really started to show that this month. With all the injuries that they've sustained, and it's not like these are just injuries to like nobodies. I mean, we're talking about Malkin, Zucker, Kapanen, Tanev, Bluger. Like, these are important guys to this team, and the fact that they're able to overcome that and have didn't they have the best record in March?
Yeah,
so
they were first or second, like every category.
Yeah, March. So the fact that they're able to deal with that and still come out on top in the month of March, that's incredible. And I think that this team is trending in the right direction and going towards the playoffs, and it's only going to get better, at least I hope, when these guys come back. Now, I don't know what it's going to be like with when you get Tanev, Bluger, Malkin, Kapanen, all these guys coming back. You'd hope that they would just keep firing on all cylinders and be playing as it is. But it's basically replacing like half of your roster. So do you think that's going to affect them at all whenever all these guys come back? Like, it's going to affect the chemistry that these guys have been growing over the past few weeks?
I think we see Tanev play tomorrow night based off what we saw today. He ditched the no contact sweater. He was out there with a regular jersey. He's playing with Zach Aston, Reese, and Gaudreau, I believe, which I actually kind of like the sound of that line, to be honest with you. It's almost like I still want Bluter to be centering those two when healthy, but it brings a little bit more speed to what they normally have. So I'm excited to see what that line does tomorrow night. But to answer your question, I think as with anything else, it takes a little bit of time. And, you just hope that the consistency of at least having that first line and all the defensive pairs together buys them enough time to find that chemistry with the other lines, with how those are going to shake out. But no, I think that they'll be fine. I don't think it will take too much time for them to all get back in the swing of things. To Ricky's point, though, do you guys think Malkin won't play until the postseason so they can acquire a bigger name forward? We kind of talked about that. Like, essentially what we saw Tampa Bay doing with Kucherov. Like, could Malkin potentially come back, but it's going to be so close to the playoffs they decide we're not going to do it, because we can have his money to acquire somebody else and then bring him back in the playoffs when there's no salary cap. That's an interesting point. I don't think the Penguins would do that. We know the thing is with Malkin, though, we have no idea what's going on with him. Like, him and Kapanen, as I put on the bottom ticker there, they're still right now, like, neither one of them have stepped on the ice since their injuries. They're just still working off the ice. And we really don't have like a legit timeline. Like, that's the thing. If we knew it was going to be, a month or something like that, then we could, work with that and go based off that to give a prediction of what they would do at the trade deadline. But like, we literally have no idea.
Yeah. And I think that as this team gets going, I think the bigger thing besides just everybody coming back is that when you look at the way they've been winning games, I think that it's a big deal to notice that all of their wins in the month of March were in regulation. Which a month and a half ago, they couldn't win a game in regulation, it seemed like. Every single game was going to overtime. But they were 12, 3-1. Every single win was in regulation. So I think that this team is going to be all right. I think that they're going to be able to be one of the top teams and potentially push to win this division. And when it comes to sitting out Malkin, that's something that I don't see that this organization doing. They want to get him back as soon as they can, of course, smartly, but I think they want to get him back as soon as they can. And I think they want to get him back with Kapanen and hopefully get that chemistry back and then bring back Zucker, because I don't think Kapanen and Zucker and Malkin never played together as a line. So I think they want to test that out. See what they got there. Hopefully they get the chemistry back between those two and add in Zucker. It could be really good.
So Sarge asked about man games lost. I don't know, this isn't updated completely. I think this was, because this is from the 27th. At that point, they were at 181. So, but then you factor in they played another game since then without Malkin, Tanev, Bluder, Kapanen. So it's got to be what? I mean, they're pushing 200. And they showed a stat a while ago, like on pace, it would only be behind the 2013-2014 Penguins for total man games lost right now.
Yeah. And I think right now they're, second in the NHL?
Is it behind Buffalo? Because that's who Sarge mentioned.
It might be. I
was trying to search and find it here, but I can't find like an update.
It seems like a hard stat to find, honestly.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because someone was keeping a document for the 2018-19 season, but that was it was just for that year. Like they didn't update it for anything else. So
gotcha. Either way, they've missed a lot of games the entire year. All these players.
And now Tristan Jarry goes down with an upper body injury. Doesn't sound like it's going to be too serious.
What the heck?
It's funny though, because not funny that he got hurt or that he's missing time or anything like that. But we had this conversation literally yesterday, as you mentioned, with something else on the Entertainment podcast, and it's just like we just feel like we're having the exact same conversation, and it's like, oh, wait, did we talk about this yet? But no, we didn't on here. So Tristan Jarry has an upper body injury. Doesn't sound like he's going to be too serious, but I would assume that he's not going to be in net tomorrow. We will see Casey DeSmith. We talked about it with those guys. Like we have full trust in Casey DeSmith being able to carry the torch for a little bit as the number one. My only question is, if you get into a back-to-back situation or something happened to Casey DeSmith, now what happens? Maxime Legacy? I mean,
him or Emil Larmy?
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying Legacy because I think he was just brought back up today. Like I think he's going to serve as the backup tomorrow.
Probably. And also I didn't know that you could bring in a third goalie. Like if they were on
your sit on the bench.
Yeah.
I don't understand that role.
I honestly didn't know that. I thought you had to have an emergency goalie after the two starters, but I guess if you have one, like since they have the taxi squad and they can carry a third goalie, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Could you imagine though if we had a emergency goalie situation like Toronto did or Carolina did last year? I know I shouldn't want that, but part of me does, just to see it.
Yeah, like a Zamboni driver or somebody.
Yeah,
maybe one of the people that are on like the Penguins ice crew.
That'd be sick. But yeah, you're right. I have complete trust in Casey DeSmith right now. 929 save percentage and a 191 goals against average. That's really good. He's the best backup in the NHL, and I'll stand by that. Statistically, he's like a top 5 goalie in the NHL right now. So I think it's really hard to argue against that he's not the best backup in the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, the only other one that I'm thinking of, and he's played a lot because of Carey Price not having a great year, is Jake Allen with the Canadians, because I know he's up there, right? I think he has pretty good numbers as well.
Yeah, and he used to suck.
Yeah,
which is surprising.
No, but yeah, so we're in agreement then that Casey DeSmith we think is definitely a capable starter. Casey
DeSmith is better than him, by the way.
Okay,
better stats than him.
Should he be put in that role? It really just comes down to, like I said, if they're in a back-to-back situation, would we have to see Casey DeSmith play both games, or do they trust Legacy to play one of those two? I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. Hopefully
maybe it depends on who it's against. Maybe if it's against Buffalo.
They don't play a back-to-back until like next Thursday, Friday or something. It's like a weird back-to-back. I don't even know if it's next. It actually might be the following one after that. It's like a Thursday, Friday situation back to back against, I want to say it's the Rangers and Devils, maybe. Yeah, the 8th and 9th.
I see that now. I mean, maybe you start Legacy if Jar is not back by then. You start Legacy in that second game against the Devils, but even then, the Devils we've seen are not as bad of a team as we've given them credit for. I feel like, especially when you compare them to like Buffalo. I mean, New Jersey looks like a playoff team compared to Buffalo.
Yeah, especially like Mackenzie Blackwood's been really good for them. I know that they had high hopes for him anyway. He's massive. He's like 6'5". He's a huge dude in net. But like, yeah, they don't have that bad of a roster. I still think that they're gonna, trade off some assets like a Kyle Palmieri, hopefully Miles Wood to the Penguins, maybe some other pieces. But yeah, I don't think that they're that bad either. Sorry to ask the question. What do you guys think of the owner said about Sully? I don't know if you guys saw not owner, I mean GM. Well, wait, was it the GM or was it
You're
Burke?
talking about Brian Burke because he's
Is that
the
yeah?
president of hockey operations.
I was going to bring that up, and it's kind of like worrisome because we talk about it all the time. Again, something we just talked about yesterday, like the way that the league has been trending since the Penguins won back-to-back cups, like everybody trying to match them with that skill and speed as opposed to being the bigger lineups that we saw when those Western Conference teams were winning cups. But like Brian Birch comments, they're kind of worrisome if you think about it. Like I know he's not the ones making the decisions. But he still might have a hand in that with Hextall. And it's like, if he wants this lineup to get bigger and they're on the same page with that, like, what are these guys about to do at the deadline? And
I have no idea. I actually was. I've had a couple arguments the past couple days in one of my group chats with a couple of my friends about hockey and the Penguins team and just different things. And one of those arguments was about having bigger guys. And my argument for that was, if you're going to have someone big, that's fine, but they have to have skill. So basically, if you want a big guy, now take out the dirty play, but they have to be Tom Wilson. They can't be someone who's just a scrub hockey player. Like, there's no more goons in the NHL anymore. And I relate it to like I said last night on the Entertainment Podcast. It's kind of like in the NBA. You can't be on the floor anymore if you can't shoot a three. That's just how the game trended. And now if you have no offensive scoring, you can't be on the ice unless you're Mark Jankowski. So if you're going to be a big guy, you have to at least have some sort of skill to you as well, like Tom Wilson does. So if they do that, then fine, but it would have to be a guy like that. But even then, I don't see them. I don't think that they should make a move like that because I don't even know if Sullivan is able to coach guys like that. That he doesn't deploy them correctly if they are in the team. Like, look what happened with Ryan Reeves. I'm not saying that he had a ton of skill, but he was never like used like they intended, and it just didn't work here. And I don't think that any other guys are going to be working here if they're big like that, just because of how the Penguins are coached and how they're taught to play. They just don't play that style of hockey.
Here's the thing. If that's really what you're out like seeking at the trade deadline, just play Zahorna more. Like when you're healthy, just play Zahorna, play Anthony Angelo, play those bigger bodied guys. I mean, I think that there's guys that should probably be playing over them, but you're not giving up anything to get those guys. They're already here. And there's not going to be much of a drop off. Like the guys that you're talking about, there's not many Tom Wilson like players in the league. There's also, not in my opinion, a ton of fourth or third line guys, just massive body guys that don't score at all. Like, I don't know what they're seeking. It almost sounds like they're looking for a player that just doesn't exist anymore. And at the end of the day, what they're really searching for is already on the roster right now. And it makes no sense to go out and get another one of those guys.
Yeah, something that gave me some ease of mind is I guess they already said that Poulin and Laguerre are off the books. They're not going to be traded. So thank goodness for that. Trade whatever picks you want, but don't trade them. I mean, a guy that would make sense to fit that kind of bill where you want a bigger body and still have that offensive skill would be a guy I think like Anthony Mantha, but you're going to have to give up a lot to get him, and you're going to be. He's like 6'4", 6'5", I think.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, he's a pretty big dude. And I think that could fit the bill that they want, but you're going to have to be able to fit his cap, which is $5.7 million. Although I'm pretty sure Detroit said that they are willing to take some salary back on a deal with him. So They could withhold salary, but if that's a guy that I think that you could at least have some size and have the offensive skill as well. Because I'm sorry, I do not want to see any more goons in hockey. Like I don't want someone who's just a useless big player out there. Because I would rather have 3 functioning offensive line mates than 2 and then one guy that can't do anything with the puck.
I mean, are you in agreement with me though that if they're really just searching for big bodies, like they already have that on the roster, why would you give things up to acquire
Oh yeah.
another?
If that's literally the only thing that you want, I don't know why you would do that. Like maybe have McCann with all lines getting healthy. If you want a big body, keep the top 2 lines the same. Have the bottom line as the normal 4th line with Saar, Tanev, and Bluger, and then have McCann, Erod, and then one of Angelo or Zahorna. Pick one. They're both big bodies. They both have shown that they've been able to produce in their limited time on the team. So there you go. And also, if they trade for a big body that's a rental, I will be so pissed off. Okay, because first off, rentals are stupid. But if they're not even going to be someone that's useful to the team, why are they here?
I don't know. Yeah, again, those statements are kind of worrisome, but at the same time, I'm not going to completely panic until they go out and do something. And Brian Burke, I mean, it is kind of weird though. We were just talking about how we will probably see a difference where you won't see as many like outspoken statements come out of the Penguins organization now that Rutherford's not here. But Brian Burke seems to be just going on all these interviews and saying a lot of things regarding the team and the trade deadline. If it was going to be somebody, I'm not surprised it's him over Hextall. But
yeah, I think that was kind of more expected that he would be the more outspoken one. But at the end of the day, I think Hextall's the one making moves. I think Brian Burke definitely has some input, but it's Hextall's team to control. Brian Burke is more so in place just to be the buffer between him and management and the buffer between him and the media, I guess, because that's how much he's been talking. But we have 12 days until the trade deadline, which is pretty crazy. It's already here. We're already over 2.5 months into hockey.
I'm just hoping that Hextall's vision lines up more with what Sullivan sees than what Brian Burke is looking for.
Same. Because I know that for a lot of people, it's not fun to be the team that gets bullied on when it comes to being hit and stuff like that. But you know what's even more fun? Outskating a team and scoring on them and winning the game. And I just see the Penguins being able to do that more with a fast, skilled guy than someone who's a big body that plays like an old like Western Conference style of hockey.
Yeah. But I just mentioned Sullivan. Let's talk about Sullivan real quick. I don't know about you, but I think right now is where he's earning his paycheck. Like this last month has been his best work, obviously, other than winning the 2 cups. But with what he's doing with the roster that he has right now at his disposal, I don't see a way that he's not like top 3 right now in terms of Jack Adams rankings.
I will say I agree with you, but if I'm outside of my Pittsburgh bias looking in, I'm probably actually not even outside Pittsburgh bias. If I'm just like an NHL voter that votes on these awards, he's probably not top 3 just because he's not taking a bad team and making them better, which is usually who wins the award. So I agree with your sentiment completely. He's been great so far. Especially over the last month and a half, and when they sustained all these injuries, the fact that they were able to go 12-3-1 in the month of March with half of an AHL roster, that's pretty amazing. But the only reason I question the Jack Adams thing is I would have him there. It's just I know how NHL voters are, and I just don't see that happening.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of putting you on the spot, but like my top 3 right now would be and not in any order. Sullivan, along with Rod Brindamore and Joel Quenneville. Because I don't think anybody expected the Panthers to be as good as they are, and the Hurricanes. I mean, we know that they're a good team. It's always about the goaltending, but I think that they've overachieved a little bit as well. So I would look at those 3 first and foremost. I mean, obviously Tampa's at the top of but again, going back to your point with like the talent level that you have. That kind of comes into play for me there. I'm looking at, yes, the Penguins have a very good roster when healthy, but with the way that he is coached with as many man games as they've missed, that's why I have him in my top 3. But I completely understand your point where from the outside looking in at the end of the year, they might not even look at that. They might not even look at the fact that we were missing Evgeny Malkin for an extended period of time and all these other guys.
Yeah. I don't know who my top 3 would be, but right now my winner is Joel Quenneville. He finally took the Panthers, and the Panthers have always been like kind of like a wishy-washy team. Like sometimes they seem good, sometimes they're terrible. But he was able to sustain this, and they've been pretty dominant this year in that division. So
no, I don't know. So people definitely expect Tampa to be that good. I'm saying Florida, the Florida Panthers. If I said Tampa, I didn't mean to. But yeah, no one expected the Florida Panthers to be as good as they are. I think everybody thought Tampa were favorites to at least get back to the Eastern Conference Final again this year, even with the Nikita Kucherov news.
Yeah. Yeah, so Quenneville's my winner. The other ones, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it that much. Maybe Rod
50
Brindamore.
Points in 36 games. I mean, you look at what this team's doing, just like individual players as well. Like Jonathan Huberdeau is like a superstar now. I mean, he was really good the last couple years, but like Barkov, we know how talented he is. Hornquist, though, how about him? 4th on the team in scoring this year. He's got 12 goals, 13 assists.
Oh, you said Tampa and you threw me off. Yeah, no, Tampa was going to be good.
Yeah, everybody knew Tampa's going to be good.
They just won the Stanley Cup.
But the team that they beat stinks.
Who'd they even beat?
Dallas.
Oh, I completely forgot about last year's final. I don't
They're
even know
11,
if I watched
12,
the game.
10 this year.
But
they
yeah,
didn't have
that
that issue, but you know, I mean, that's way behind them, and they're still bad. So,
let me ask you a question. So by the end of this season, will Sidney Crosby be in the Hart conversation? Because I think you can argue that he will be.
Do you think people are, so going back to our point about the coaches with Sullivan, do you think people look at it the same way with Sid? Like he's not really carrying the team?
No. Just because I feel like it's different because with coaches, they can say, oh, he still has like Sidney Crosby, Jake Gensel, and they were expected to be a good team, so they're not really it's not really as impressive. But I feel like when you look at the players, when you look at who's been carrying the team, Sid's been really stepping it up this past the month of March. If he continues to do so with the rest of the season and with the sustained injuries to guys like Malkin, Zucker, Kapanen, Tanev, Bluger, all those sorts of guys, I think that you could at least make a case that if this keeps up, he could be in the conversation to be a Hart finalist. He's probably not going to win it, but I think that you can make that argument that he's the most valuable player to his team, which is what the definition of the award is.
He's not in my top 3 right now. I'll say that.
Well, he's not in my top 3 either. I'm asking, do you think he could be?
I mean, yeah, but we don't know how the rest of the season to play. Yeah, like I mean, he's up to 10th in points.
I mean, my top 3 right now is Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid, and Patrick Kane.
See, I have Huberdeau and not Austin Matthews. The only reason, and I have McDavid, I understand. The reason that I don't have Matthews in there is because his teammate, Mitch Marner, has more points. I understand the McDavid Draisaitl being on the same team thing, though. But if McDavid weren't there and it were just Draisaitl, that team sucks, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And Huberdeau, with what Florida's doing this year, as I just mentioned, only 2 points back. I mean, obviously, the Penguins are also only 2 points back, but nobody expected Florida to be there. Of the best record in hockey, I don't know. That's hard for me to overlook Florida not having their best players in MVP finalists right now. I mean, yeah, Sid's in the conversation. Just going down this list, I would say he's probably like fifth or 6th.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. No, the only reason that I brought up the other thing, man, it would be so frustrating because, like, Sullivan has gotten overlooked his entire tenure in Pittsburgh because of the talent that the Penguins have. But it's not like, you know, at no point in his time here were the Penguins considered to have the best roster, in my opinion. Like, no one looked at the Penguins and said they have the best roster in hockey. It was always like, you know, Tampa was more talented than them, and they just could never get over the hump.
Yeah.
So I just think when you look at what he's done this year, if someone says he's having his best season coaching the Penguins, at least like in terms of the regular season, obviously the job that he did in the playoffs with them 2 years that they won the cup, especially in 17 without Chris Letang playing Ron Hainsey in top 2 minutes on defense. But I think that this is his best regular season work that we're seeing right now.
Can't argue with that.
What else do we got? Anything? I mentioned Jari being injured, Malkin and Kapanen still away from the ice, recovering. Jason Zucker returned though, so that was nice.
Something that I noticed about Jason Zucker compared to other people on the Penguins is that he is very fast with his decision making when he gets the puck. Like, he does not take time to think about what he's doing. He's very reactionary, and I think that's something that was lacking on the Penguins. So maybe that's why I noticed it so much from him. But I feel like every time that he had the puck or was making a play away from the puck, everything is so quick and fast with him. And that's just the style of play that I haven't seen on the team so far since he's been injured.
He didn't score a goal or have a point the other night, but like he was noticeable in my opinion. And I guess for probably the same reason that you just mentioned, like he didn't look rusty. He didn't look like he had missed time. And it's just so decisive with everything. And yeah, I mean, like I said, he's a welcome addition for a team that's just looking to hopefully get some healthy bodies back in the lineup. Interesting line that they threw out there with him, McCann, and Rodriguez. But it looks like it's going to remain that way because with Tanev coming back, they have him with Gaudreau and Zach Aston Reese. So let's see how that line continues to work.
Yeah. Maybe their thought process is, okay, well, when we had everybody out, we had to just top load the top two lines with all the talent and leave the bottom two to fend for themselves. Now that they are getting more players back like Zucker and like Tanev, they could try to spread it out some more.
I think that we, to wrap things up here, should probably give the bottom six a little bit of love. Granted, we could talk about how terrible Mark Jankowski is forever.
Yeah, he sucks still. But I roasted them a week ago.
Yeah.
I roasted the crap out of them. Yeah, they were a pain in my backside, and I let everybody know it. And I wanted them to actually score goals because, like, for a couple weeks, they really hadn't done nothing. It was basically like the Penguins were playing with two lines and somehow still winning. But I got to give them credit. They scored in every single game, like bottom six, the past 4 games since we talked. They've scored in every single game multiple times, and it was a bunch of different guys as well. So hats off to them. They've been doing a really good job.
Rodriguez has a couple in that period. Zach Aston Reese scored a goal. Gaudreau scored a goal. We saw Angelo score a power play goal. I mean, yeah.
Zahorna scored his first NHL goal.
Yeah, Zahorna scored a goal.
On his first shot.
Joined some elite company by doing that. But yeah, I think that they've started to contribute a little bit. Even in some of these games, like they haven't looked all that great, but when you look at the lineup, like you don't care how they're getting points right now. Like that game where we were at and they went up 5-0 and then let the Islanders back in a little bit. Like they didn't look that great defensively. They just had such a big lead that it didn't matter. But like you don't care how this team's winning games right now. Like they're finding ways to win. They're getting really good goaltending, obviously doing it as well.
Mm-hmm. Although I still don't get, like, why do they keep going back to freaking Jankowski? Like, I know.
Do you think, though, with what we're seeing as far as, like, Gaudreau being the third-line guy now, when Bluder comes back, that means that Jankowski's out?
I hope so. I honestly hope so. Because I just don't see him being useful at all. Gaudreau's looked really good in his stint with the Penguins. And also another guy I got to give credit for it that we've talked bad about a lot that I think has looked pretty decent is Colton Sevier. I think he's looked pretty good, at least relative to his season, the past few games. But a guy like Jankowski, he looks terrible. I get that they probably brought him back for his penalty killing, but he's not even good at that.
That's what I was just saying. Like I was talking with DK, and it was, why are they playing him over Zahorna the other night? And it was like, well, with Tanev and Bluder out, they don't have many of their mainstays in terms of penalty killers. So that's why Jankowski gets the nod over him.
Well, here's my thing with that. have Sid penalty kill. Because
How funny is that? Like, we've seen it though recently. Like, I picked up on it, and I think we noticed it when we were there. Like, he'll come out on the penalty kill to win the face off, and then just skate right off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not actually kill any time, just hurry up and get off the ice.
But even if he did have to kill time,
Yeah.
Sid's one of your best defensive players on the team. So I would much rather have him. Obviously, you don't want him like blocking all the shots and everything because you don't want him injured. But if he's going to prevent a goal over Jankowski, I would rather have him out there.
Yeah. Okay. I think that pretty much wraps it up unless you got anything else. We're coming up on an hour.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay.
Got to say that.
Yeah. Excited for April. Pirates baseball tomorrow. Playoff push coming up. So good time for Pittsburgh. The draft's next month. Good time for Pittsburgh sports. Keith's Barbershop. It's an old-fashioned barbershop. It's located at 180 Brighton Avenue in Rochester, PA. He's open 11 to 7 Tuesday through Friday and 10 to 4 on Saturday. Every Tuesday, he does $5 off for military personnel, first responders, and nurses. Again, that's Keith's Barbershop at 180 Brighton Avenue in Rochester, PA. Hey, how did your bets go as far as your Viget bets this past week?
I am 24-24-1.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like,
hey, listen,
500.
If that's where the Pirates are at, about 50 games in, I think we'll all be a little pleasantly surprised.
Pleasantly surprised. I'll be shocked. Not just pleasantly surprised. Yeah, I'm pretty much dead even on Vegas.
Well, if you're wondering what we're talking about, we have a lobby, leaderboard, group, whatever you want to call it, set up on this new app called Viget. It's essentially a social media app. It's available through Apple or Android. It lets us interact with you guys. You get coins when you sign up. I think that you start out with like 2,500 or something like that, and you bet them those coins on games. And whoever has the most at the end of the month, they show up at the top of the leaderboard, and it ranks everybody from 1 to however many people are in there. I think we only got like 7 people in there right now, so I don't know what you guys are doing, but you need to get in on the action and prove that you guys are smarter than us. It's free, completely free, and you have the chance to win Amazon gift cards, some of their merch, a TV. Right now, there's a PlayStation 5 on there. If anybody gets to the PlayStation 5, I'll send you like $300 worth of our merch because there's no way that's going to happen. But anyway, download the Viget app and reach out to me so I can get you the code to enter our lobby, leaderboard, whatever you want to call it, group, and use Crowworthy when you sign up as a referral code. That's CROW space WORTHY. It will ask you, I believe it asks you right when you go into the app for the first time about a referral code. So
yeah, as you're signing up, it'll do it.
Yeah. But essentially keeps track of all your bets, puts you in a leaderboard with all of us, and you can see where you rank. So it's pretty cool. Again, if you have any Apple device or Android device, you can get the app. Other than that, thanks for listening to another episode of Around the 412. This has been a presentation of Crowworthy. We're winners and serving winners coast to coast with sports, gambling, fantasy, and more. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Around the 412. Follow them at Crowworthy Takes. Visit the Pittsburgh City page at crowworthy.com. Episode announcement, April 14th. I know this is the Bucs and Puck show, but I'm sorry, not 12th, April 12th, not 14th. April 12th, 412, Around the 412, we will be joined by Steelers outside linebacker Alex Highsmith and his dad, Sam. They're coming back on. We had him on originally, obviously, when he was drafted by the Steelers. Now we're going to get to recap his rookie season with his dad joining the show as well, so that's going to be awesome. So if you are also a Steeler fan, not just here for the Pirates and Penguins content, you can look forward to that one. Mark your calendars. April 12th, 412, 412 with Around the 412. We will talk to you next time and, of course, then. But until next time, we'll talk to you.